This is Chiming In. Won a premiership along the way with Manly, played for New South Wales, played for Australia. But along that journey, on 4 separate occasions, you've snapped your anterior cruciate ligament, which required surgery, twice in each knee.
That was always my guide, you know. Yeah. Any time I played, if your teammates were saying you went well, yeah, I was happy, you know. Right. I still get a little bit emotional talking about that, you know.
So you're telling us you feel responsible for Manly's loss in the 97 grand
Certainly do. I do. I reckon everyone in Newcastle, when I go up there, should buy me piss. They should buy me beers, because I think I won them their first comp. And then I got into one at the Goldie.
Bought that?
Yeah. And 4 years later, I done me money.
Went bust?
Went broke.
What's it feel like to do your dough? And
I probably didn't cope for a long time, you know. I think I got the drink, a fair bit of it. I was drinking plenty.
And today, mate, you run a really successful security business. So you're in charge of appointing the bouncers or the doorman or the security people.
We like to be called doorman.
Doorman, sorry,
Steve,
Nick, sorry. Nik Kosef, welcome to Chiming In.
My pleasure, Chimes. Thanks very much for inviting me in.
It's good to see you, mate. I'm really looking forward to this chat because for a couple of reasons. First of all, your story has never really been told before. No one really knows about your upbringing, how you got involved with rugby league, and fascinating story about your dad. But also because you probably go down in history as one of the unluckiest players in rugby league, having suffered serious knee injury on 4 separate occasions. Do you feel unlucky?
No, not extremely, mate. You know, I reckon I've had a blessed life. I would have wished none of those happened, but and I was probably not playing now, but would have hopefully played well into my 30s, which was cut fairly short, but still extremely lucky of, you know, what I was lucky to accomplish with the team, you know, I played in and other stuff. So yeah, unlucky in some stages.
So debuted at 18, retired at 28. Won a premiership along the way with Manly, played for New South Wales, played for Australia. But along that journey, on 4 separate occasions, you've snapped your anterior cruciate ligament, which required surgery, twice in each knee. So I guess you're hobbling a bit nowadays.
We do catch up a little bit, mate. You see me, I'm like an old bull rider. But yeah, it certainly need a replacement on the left one, and hopefully we'll have that sort of done in the next 12 months.
So you need a new knee.
Need a new knee. Yep. And mate, on that, my right one's touch wood. It's still pretty good. Yeah, mate, I was probably to come on the scene. You know, I played the last couple of games in 92, and then started in the squad 93 and played 13 games pretty much off the bench, and then a couple starting towards the end, and then Big Ciro got me.
Hit you?
I got through the line and was trying to turn a look past, and a bloke had me around the legs. I can't remember who that was, and then Paul took me over the top and just bent me the other way and just snapped me.
So do you know of any other NRL player that's ever had 4 knee reconstructions?
Mate, there could be. Brent Tate's had 3, and I don't know if it was 4, but I thought he had 3. So, yeah, I thought I might have had the most.
So there are times when you do it and you got to rehab, and nowadays it's 9 months and at least 9 months, or they work off 9 months. And our medical expertise back then, when you were playing some time ago, is probably not as sharp as today. So what was it like having to come back on 4 separate occasions from 4 reconstructions?
Mate, I suppose early on, in those early couple of first terms, 18 and 19, I was rushing, couldn't wait, you know, chanting at the bit. So I rehabbed hard, but probably overdone it, you know. I think I learnt, and then I done 2 more at the end of my career. So I learnt some stuff along the way for sure. But mate, I was pretty lucky. There was Jeff Prost was our physio at Manly, and he was mate, he was beyond his years. You know, he was doing a lot of perceptual, like sort of barefoot running backwards, which they do a lot now, that like to strengthen your hamstrings and stuff like that. And mate, I was doing them back in the early 90s, and he had me along the DY headland, jumping from rock to rock when I'd become 6 months into my rehab. So I was pretty. I didn't really know how lucky I was having a bloke like that look after me, But yeah, but certainly, mate, like some of the stuff they could do now, it's crazy, you know.
I think your story's fascinating, mate. I'm looking forward to sharing it with our listeners right now. It's when you talk about luck, you're actually quite lucky to have even got into rugby league, because if Dad had had his way, you'd be a soccer player.
Yeah, that's true.
Take us back to the early days and tell us a little bit about your father.
My dad's like, you know, he came over here in the late 40s. Yeah, had a bit of a very difficult life. And when my father sort of had to get out, had to flee Bulgaria, it was in the revolution when Russia came in and took over a lot of, you know, Eastern Bloc Europe. And my father's family were quite wealthy, and they had weaving factories and stuff like that my dad was running. And he was heavily involved in the revolution. He was quite political. Smart bloke, spoke like numerous languages. He was schooled in France. Yeah, he was a clever old bloke, you know.
So how did he get to Australia? Do you know,
mate? He had to flee Bulgaria because Russia had put they were going to kill him. So he had to flee Bulgaria. Fled Bulgaria, and just so lucky that he finished. For a bit of luck, he finished with a bloke's passport or papers in those days, and thought he was going to America. Got on the boat and ended up in Australia, in Western Australia. He ended up landing, and then sort of mined and done different jobs. He worked on the Snow Ruther scheme at some stages, like not when I thought it was first getting developed, but in that stuff, you know, learnt driving trucks, and his probably worst language was English. So very broken. Then he mined into Cobar, and then finished in Cobar, where I'm originally from. And met my mother, which was a bit of a story in itself.
Tell us about that. How did Dad meet Mum?
Well, my mum was, you know, she was in her just late 20s, early 30s, and my old man had lied on when he came to Australia. He was really in his 50s, but his papers said he was in his 40s, so he didn't really lie, I suppose, but he just kept running with the story, you know. So it was really 10 years older than he was. Met my mother. She was recently separated from, and I've got three brothers here in Australia. They're all 10 years older than me. And then my dad she was barmaiding at the pub, one of the first barmaids ever to be in Cobar. They mainly had barmen, real industrial little mining town. And then my dad sort of kept sitting at the end of the bar saying, "Lovely, when I'm going to take you to dinner." And she was saying, "Who's this old wog keep asking me all the time? Piss off, you know." But eventually he found out a story, and he started leaving a box of groceries on a back step every Friday afternoon, and that went on for about 6 months.
Is that because Mum was struggling a little bit?
Yeah, it was. She had three young boys, and she thought it was her mum and dad putting the groceries there, you know, and she kept thanking them. They're saying, "It's not us, but it was my father." And she eventually went out, and then they were married for, 25 years before he passed.
So little Nick arrives eventually. When you were born, how old was Dad?
My old man conceived me when he was 64, and my mum was 30,
wow.
32 or something. So there was nearly 30-year gap, I think. And my sister was born 2 years before me.
Wow.
And then but my brothers were all, we're all brothers and sisters.
So Dad was a big soccer fan. So he wasn't even aware you were playing league as a toddler. Tell us about how you got into footy.
Mate, I sort of played because my dad started a soccer club in Cobar. There wasn't a big ethnic community, so him and a couple of Greek blokes used to play a lot of cards at the cafe down the main street and, smoke their camels and drink vino. And they ended up starting a soccer club. My dad was heavily involved in that. So we were all of us boys were playing soccer. And eventually my brothers went on to rugby league and that. But I was never going to be allowed to play. Like Dad was, pretty adamant that I was going to be a soccer star, that I had no ability. But anyway, I got to 11 and my brother took me to a footy carnival for the school in Dubbo, and they were picking out of all the regional towns and that, and they picked the Western Region side, and I was in that. We played a lot of backyard footy, and so I really didn't know what I was doing anyway, but just tackling and running as best you could. And I was fortunate I made the side, the Western Region side, so I had to come home and tell Mum. And, I told Mum. I didn't tell Dad because I knew what I'd cop. So I told Mum, and she said, "We'll keep it under wraps." But then I had to go to a carnival in Sydney. Actually, it was Western Sydney. We stayed where the Milperra massacre happened about a week before. Actually,
Wow.
that's how long ago? It was, 86 or 87, I think.
Right.
And
Any,
so we went in the carnival.
any evidence of the violence left over?
Mate, there was. I was outside having a walk around the car park, and there was body painting everywhere. And I kept saying, "Mum, what's this?" She said, "Get in." She kept telling me to get back inside the motel room.
Wow.
And no, funny, mate. It was funny sort of week, and I was then once again they picked the New South Wales side, and I made the New South Wales side, so we definitely had to come home and tell Dad, that I'd made the side. And he was out of me. He wasn't going to let me go, and then I was very lucky. A couple of people come and spoke to him and said, "You've got to let him go," and helped out money-wise. And so I was, Jimmy Goonry was one bloke, and Mr. Taylor was the other. He was a principal at the primary school, and they both come around.
And convinced Dad you should go and have a crack at this.
and help Mum, help Mum and Dad financially to send me. Because it was like, so we went on a 5-week, back then under 12s, we went on a 4 or 5 week trip around Queensland.
Wow.
And
wouldn't have been cheap.
I don't think it was, mate. I think it might have been a couple of grand back in the 80s to send us.
So how would you did Mum go on the trip with you?
No,
right.
Mate, we were billeted.
Right.
So we just all the boys. I think we trained somewhere in Western Sydney for a week or so, and then we might have went on a 3 or 4 week journey around Queensland, Bundaberg, Rockhampton, and then we played the final game at Wynnum Manly, back in Brisbane. And I remember Mum giving me a little tea towel and spoon to take to everyone because they sort of pointed out you had all these people billeting you out. Those days are gone now, aren't they?
That was your gift, a Cobar teaspoon and tea towel.
And mate, it's that funny. Yeah. I've had the people that I stayed with have caught up with me through my career and said, "I've still got your tea towel and."
Wow, it'd be very valuable now, wouldn't it?
I don't know about valuable. I don't think it was valuable, but mate, it's pretty nice. It was a good thought by Mum.
It's a good gesture.
Yeah,
mate.
It was lovely.
Listen, what was it like growing up in Cobar? Tell us a little bit about the town and what it was like being a kid in Cobar.
Mate, I was so lucky. Had the best childhood. So much fun. Dawn to dark, go out, dawn back at dark just before the street lights come on. There was no sort of, got to feel sorry for a lot of kids these days in that respect. But I had push bikes everywhere, rabbit trapping, slug guns, and then got a bit older, 22s, shooting and stuff like that, and camping and all sports. Played cricket in the summer and footy in the winter. Mining town.
Yep.
It sort of changed a fair bit since I sort of grew up there. It was like if you wanted a job in the mines, you had to come and live in the town. And the town was quite, in those sort of 80s and 90s, was really buoyant. There probably would have been 4,000 or 5,000 people there in that stages. And the footy was good. We had 3 sides. We were playing in Group 11. Not that the standards are not bad out there now, but we've gone back to Group 14. We're only fielding a first grade side and an under 18 side now. We don't have a reserve grade side. And it's like a lot of things in life now, blokes don't play because their job's so valuable. They're looking after their family. Once upon a time, if you played rugby league, you got a good job,
Yeah.
So it has changed, but still, mate, it's home, still home.
Bush footy, obviously playing in a group, and there's space between towns. What sort of travelling distance or time distance would it take you to get to certain games on a weekend?
Mate, junior was, because we were playing in Group 15, it was Burke was hour and a half, and so was Ningen. But when we went into Group 11, like the senior sort of stuff, and now the younger kids play in that group as well, mate, the closest is, I don't know if Ningen even plays in the comp now, I'm not sure. If they do, I think they played out an hour, so 2.5 to 3 hours. And the furthest trip, that's one way. And the furthest trips, we used to go to Manildra, which was 6 hours each way.
6 hours there and 6 hours back for a game of footy.
Yeah.
Geez, you'd want to win, wouldn't you?
Well, mate, if you did win, they were good trips home.
Yeah, right.
There was not a lot of people going to work Monday.
I think people underestimate the sacrifices people in the bush make to play country footy.
Without a doubt. That's why I still believe that there's so many great players that have come out of the bush, like Lies, Junee, Cement at Narromine, and the list goes on. That's two, I can just name off the top of my head. But, yeah, mate, I feel that there should be always we're contributing as a national game back to the bush a lot.
A lot more to be done in the
Yeah,
bush.
I think there
isn't
is. Yeah, and I think a way that could help is, better lights at, every side that has an A-grade side in the country, hopefully, through government-wise and also the NRL, they improve the lighting so it can be played on a Saturday, and from juniors through to first grade. Then everyone's got Sunday ever to, spend time with their families, go to church like you do.
100%. So, mate, when did you start to realise footy was a prospect for you, that you were a chance of being a footy player? And when were you noticed by scouts or clubs?
Mate, I was fortunate in that respect. I was probably going to go to Canterbury, but and I'd been
So
speaking.
what age are you?
I'm sort of 15, 16.
Yep.
Getting a bit nuts. I'd made a couple of I'd made New South Wales under 15s, and then Bozo was sort of doing a lot of work in the country. He had a chemical factory, a chemical company, who sent a lot of stuff out to the mines in Cobar, and he'd come out and do a couple of coaching clinics, and he'd see me at an earlier age, like 12, 13, 14. And I was going to go to Canterbury because Chris Anderson had spoke to my mother and stuff like that, but they wanted to leave me in the bush till I was 18.
Right.
And Mum wasn't having that because I'd sort of...
She wanted you to go, fly.
Yeah, well, I think I needed to, I was just starting to have a good time.
So what sort of kid were you?
No, I was not great at school.
Yeah.
I only liked to go to school for play, like for, lunch and footy and...
Yeah.
So, mate, I sort of finished up halfway through year 10. I don't even finish year 10. I sort of went working with my dad because I knew I was going to Sydney the next year.
Right. To Manly.
To Manly, eventually.
Yeah. Where did you live when you got to Manly?
I was fortunate, and that's another reason that Mum wanted me to go to Manly. I had my auntie and uncle lived at Clontarf, which it was a pretty good spot to start. I was pretty lucky there, looking into the spit. So I spent 6 or 7 months there with my uncle and auntie, and they had 2 little kids, and it was funny because they'd never had a teenage boy, living with them. And I remember the dinners used to come out, and mine would look a little bit better than, which Auntie Anna was beautiful. She'd feed me as much as I want, but they were all small, They were watching. They were always clever. I could eat everyone's meal.
Yeah.
So I used to go down there. The old girl said, she said, start getting something on the way home to eat, and but they were beautiful people. And then and I just ended up running into a couple of blokes who were in their 20s. That I was coming training with in the off season, and I moved in with them.
Right.
And they were good blokes. Jeff Hassan, Corey Underwood.
Yep.
Rippers. I was very fortunate to get those blokes because they were sort of, pretty sensible.
Yeah.
And I could be persuaded.
So you found moving to the big city not too daunting?
No, I suppose, and mate, really, like the Northern Beaches is a little bit secluded. Like it's sort of, it's busy, but it wasn't busy like, eastern suburbs or city central, so, or even, inner city here. I was fortunate to go there. Like I spent a lot of time at Harbord and, knew the butcher and the baker, and the pub was like being in the bush. Yeah. Yeah, I was really fortunate, and I never wanted to move from there. I love it.
And mate, at age 18, you're off and running. You're playing in the NRL at age 18. So they are a few years earlier at Cobar chasing rabbits, and a few years later playing in the NRL.
Yeah, mate, I was. It was sort of just it just happened, and I think we were fortunate too. Bo's come back on the scene, and he'd been heavily involved with our junior sort of development program before that. It was myself, Stephen Menzies, Beaver, Daniel Gartner.
So there's a whole strong batch of kids coming through.
Yeah, so it was a good batch of us, Yeah. We were really lucky, that was sort of a group of about 7 or 8. Jack Elsgood, Elsie was there as well. And we sort of all come through at the same time, and Bo's, he got a couple of like legends, like Cement come there, and Spud come from South, and Robbo was already there. Owen Cunningham, the Mule. Well, it was a good culture. It was a really good culture. I was very fortunate to grow up in that time. You need to bide your time. Watch your P's and Q's. Don't be a smart ass. And it was good. It was good
and the
culture.
team was successful. They were going to be a successful club. You could see that there was something building there at Manly. First year into NRL, when did you do your first knee after debuting? How long after debuting did you do your knee?
I played the last couple of games in '92, just off the bench. and then I had played 13 games in '93, and then snapped me cruciate. Yeah.
Wow. So how'd you cope with that?
Mate, it's that long ago. I can't really remember how I probably got in the bottle for a couple of weeks, I think, to start with. But
yeah, did you go home for a bit? Or?
I did, actually. I think I'm pretty sure I went home a few weeks, like after I'd sort of had the operation and stuff. I might have went home for 4 or 5 weeks and then come back to start me, rehab.
So how long after the first knee did you do your second knee?
Made in the first trial game the year after.
Wow.
So
was there
I sort of had 2 yet, but I tried to play with it the second time. Like I didn't really
same leg or different leg?
Same leg,
right?
And I knew I'd done it, and I was hoping it hadn't been, but I sort of did, and I tried to play a couple of games, and then I remember Bo's coming and saying, "What are you doing? Like you're hobbling around there like." Yeah. He used to call me pale face adios. Actually, I was trotting around the joint, and he said, "Mate, you got to go and get it done again. Can't have it." So they done it twice, and I suppose they'll probably. But I never thought I wouldn't play again. Yeah. Even after the fourth one, I thought
Yeah.
but I just lost a yard every time, and
yeah.
As blokes have had it, you just get a little bit slower.
So how would you describe yourself as a player? Because you're a big, gangly, ball-playing, quick, tough back rower, weren't you?
That's a bit of a rap.
Yeah.
Can I cop that?
I'll cop that. You happy with that?
But yeah, I'm happy with that.
Yeah.
I would have. Times I've always I find it hard to talk about myself. So yeah, mate, I was fortunate playing a great side, and I think it made me play better. I had through those mid-90s, we were, we should have done a lot better. And so it was disappointing to lose a couple, but it was nice to win one too,
So can we talk about your 3 grand finals? So 95, 96, 97, 5's a loss, 7's a loss, 6 is a win. Let's start with 95. What are your recollections of the 1995 grand final?
Probably my best game out of the 3.
Right.
I remember walking off and Smith saying you're a best player. So
who'd you play?
We played Canterbury.
Right.
And so for him to say that to me, I didn't care about anything else.
Yeah.
So he was a bit of an idol.
Your teammate says you after the game, you're our best today, mate.
Yeah. It was that was always my guide, Yeah. Any time I played, if your teammates were saying you went well, I was happy,
Right.
I still get a little bit emotional talking about that,
Yeah.
Yeah. It's it was a good day. I probably should have put Hank into the corner late in late in the second half, I think, to make it. I think I might have been first half actually. Might have made a break, and I probably should have went the corner myself. Anyway, right. I mucked it up.
96, a bit of joy, eh?
Little bit of joy.
Who'd you play?
We played St George.
Right.
I knew we were going to win in the first after the first kickoff. Cement come out. He said, I've got 15 minutes or 16 minutes, and then he hit.
Because Cement's getting towards the end.
Yeah, he's right towards the end.
Yeah.
And
because he played in the 80s and grand finals in the mid-80s.
Legend. And he whacked one of the front rows in the first, and the ball comes spilling out over the top, And I just knew.
That moment told you, we're going to be sweet.
Yeah, we'll be right here. It's all over. And so, and we did. We pretty much controlled the game all the way through. They sort of fought back a little bit, but I was always pretty confident we were going to get the cash,
Yeah. Now, 97, it goes down as one of the all-time great grand finals, the Newcastle Knights, which was the Darren Albert try. What are your recollections of that game?
Me being lazy. But the game itself, I made a couple of bad blues through the game. I've never watched the game. I've just seen a few little pieces that have come up here. I can't bear to watch it.
You couldn't watch it ever again?
No, I can't. I did cough the ball up a couple of times. Blake in the second half had probably changed a bit of the play a little bit. And then, mate, Johnsy turns the ball back inside and I don't come across. I'm sitting there smoking the pipe.
So you're telling us you feel responsible for Manly's loss in the 97 grand
Certainly do. I do. I reckon everyone in Newcastle, when I go up there, should buy me piss. They should buy me beers because I think I won them their first comp.
So you reckon you just dropped off on the edge late in the game?
Yeah. And it was like, started walking when I shouldn't have been. And it's always been it was always a big policy of us when we were defending as well. Like our game was up, get hard off the line, then slide across, try and push them over the sideline. And it was you had to close the gate, you know what I mean? The blokes in the middle had to push across all the time. And I clocked off.
So he scored on the bell, basically, which has gone down in rugby league history.
Yes, I do.
How's it feel standing behind the goal line when something like that happens, especially on such a big stage?
Not good, Johns.
Yeah.
And not that anyone's ever said it, but I can feel it,
Still feel it.
Yeah, and you can feel it. Why didn't you come across? And Spud will probably blame himself too, but I don't think he was a chance of getting. I might have been some hope of getting.
I think you've probably been a bit hard on yourself.
No, it's all right. I can cough it.
But that's how you feel, eh?
Yeah, for sure. I do. Feel a bit responsible, but that's footy too, isn't it? You know what I mean? There's been plenty of blokes that's happened to.
Right.
Poor old Benny Hunt feels probably a bit responsible that game in 15, so... And there's
been
a few for the
talk
decades.
about those moments, but there's 80 minutes to win the game. There's mistakes in the first minute.
Of course there is.
There's moments in the game that are remembered, but no one will remember who dropped the ball first in a grand final.
No, they don't. And, mate, and at the break, we're all over them, 16-8.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We should have really taken control.
On your way.
Yeah, we were.
I've watched the game again.
Mate, you know what? Yeah. They hadn't beaten us, and I just seen that come up. I was watching a little program the night, and they seen it come up. They hadn't beat us 18 times before they hadn't beat us. And I'll tell you now, we didn't beat them for about 8 or 9, 10 times after that.
Yeah, right.
They just kept flogging us after that. So weird, isn't it?
So, mate, when you debuted for Australia, how old were you when you debuted?
Mate, 95, I get picked as a third stringer to go on the World Cup trip over to England, which I didn't think I was a chance. Yeah. But Jimmy Dimmick was, because that was sort of the breakup of the Super League. So Jimmy Dimmick's the lock, Billy Moore's probably number 2, and then myself. And I would have been in the mix of the back rowers, I suppose, that young back rowers. And, man, I was fortunate. I didn't play in the first test, but I played every game. But Bozo didn't put me on in the final, which I'm still a bit dirty about.
So I wanted to ask you about Dad. So if Dad's passed away, had prostate cancer and passed away, if Dad was alive today, how old would he be?
Man, I think we said 114.
Wow. What was it like growing up with the dad who was not elderly, but older than everyone else's dad?
Mate, everyone always thought he was my grandfather.
Really?
Like everywhere we went, even when we'd go on footy things or stuff like that, everyone was saying, "Oh, your pop's come to watch you play." I never told him much, funny. His English was quite broken and he didn't respond a lot. I remember going into fruit shops with him and he'd say, "I want 2 mongrels. I want 2 mongrels." And the bloke would go, "What are you talking about, mate?" I said, "He wants 2 mangoes, mate. He wants 2 mangoes."
Did Dad get to see you play for Australia?
Mate, he didn't. He didn't, but he got me to see play first grade. And he become, after the first period where he didn't want me to play, and it was quite hard to call it a Bulls game, rugby league. But then he became
a what?
A Bulls game.
A Bulls game.
Yeah, not very smart,
Right.
He's probably right with me.
Yeah.
But then he become he loved it in the end.
So he followed it?
Yeah, and followed it heavy. And he had his favourite player was Darren Lockie, who had just come on the scene before he passed. And he said to me, mate, and he was a good judge, he said, "This bloke will be one of the best, go down one of the best of all time."
Yeah.
He loved him. And he used to say to me, because Bose was all about getting us bigger, putting on weight, size in the pack. But Dad was always saying, "You've got to look more like this bloke." And I said, "Mate, he plays 5'8". It's a different position."
Because he could glide across the field.
Yeah, he could move.
Yeah.
He did. He was seamless. And, he probably will go down as an immortal at some stage, I dare say.
What about State of Origin, mate? Did Dad get to see you play any of your Origin?
No, because that was a bit later. Then I'd sort of I went that 95 trip and played. So I was one of those blokes that played. Bozo might have helped me there. Yeah. Played on the World Cup. I played on that scene before I played Origin. 97 was still Super League was going, so I played 97.
Yeah.
Bit of a mixed side then. I think Jimmy Dimmick was lock. Well, no, 5'8", and I think Freddie must have been injured. He must have got injured through that series. He didn't play a lot, and so I played lock for the 3 games. And we won, which was pretty cool, even though it was sort of broken up. And then I played again in 97, 98, and then 99, and then I got suspended in the last 3rd game of 99.
Right.
So.
But I'm enjoying the chat, but one thing I've noticed throughout the chat is you're a bit hard on yourself. You're a bit of a hard marker because you're an exceptional player and played at the highest level, won premierships, played Origin. But you're an exceptional ball-playing back rower. How would you describe yourself as a footballer, looking back, seriously?
I don't know. it's hard to say. So yeah, I suppose like I like playing with the ball. Like I thought I could read footy. I wasn't just up and down, you know, tackling and running. So I thought I was always a little bit cluey in that. But so I like to play with the ball and marshal blokes around, and I didn't want to do all the tough stuff. I wanted to do all the fancy stuff, you know. But I suppose, mate, and over time, knee injuries and stuff like that probably changed the way I played a lot.
Yeah.
So I had to get like that, you know, because I didn't have the lateral movement like I'd had probably earlier in my career. So I sort of probably, I'm not going to sit here and say I was a tough player and stuff, but I give what I got, I suppose, on occasions, you know.
So, mate, I've been fascinated by, you know, you overcoming your injuries, your early days, your success. And now we're going to talk about your life after footy, which is just as incredibly interesting, because there's been plenty of highs and lows in the latter part of your journey on planet Earth.
Mate, there has. It was good, you know, I suppose. Finished footy a lot earlier than I'd hoped. So the decision to find something to do was probably rushed a bit.
So you didn't have a plan when you finished, I'm going to be such and such. So you had to sort of scramble to find.
Yeah, and it was sort of pretty rushed, mate, because all of a sudden Manly let me go, which was a commercial decision, which, like, then I couldn't understand it, but now I can. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, then I hated the world.
They retired you.
Yeah, they did.
Right. And did you have to fight for your pay?
Yeah,
right.
I went for the last couple of years before, the year before, actually Kenny Arston come to me defence the year before. I was on decent money and they weren't paying me. I went sort of 6 months. Stephen helped me out a fair bit. Paper was paying me mortgages and stuff for a few months. That's how good a bloke he is.
Who's that, mate?
Steve Menzies.
Okay. Wow.
Legend. Let me, you know.
Wow.
Untold, to be honest, but
yeah. Because you'd bled for the club, mate.
Yeah.
You'd been battle scarred and bruised and broken for the club. But the way the game is, and with cap pressure and roster management,
mate, they've got to, you know, they try, and they were trying to push me out. You know what I mean? They were trying to sort of say, okay, I'll go. And they did offer me a sum. I still had a couple of years around on my contract, and they did offer me a sum to go, but I said, I'm staying.
Yeah. Now, that's changed, by the way, nowadays. Players' contracts are guaranteed.
Yeah.
So if you get hurt and you've got 3 years to go, you get all your money. Back then, that wasn't the case.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah.
And so Kenny come and he said, if you play 20 games, we'll pay you for the year.
So you're probably trying to play on one leg, eh?
No, I played 21.
Yeah.
And I was pretty lucky because Sharpie'd come to coach there then. And through that first season, I think he probably helped me a few times. I probably didn't deserve to be playing reserve grade at a couple of stages, you know. But as the season went, knee got better. So because I'd snapped my cruciate 2 years, you know, in a row before that too, like end of 90. I started 2000 and again in 2001 and 2002, you know. I had to play 20 games to get me money, so I played 21. And then the next year of my contract, they just said, mate, we got to let you go.
Yeah.
No more. You've had a good run. And which was, at the time, I couldn't see it. But they were just.
So did you win your legal case?
Well, mate, it didn't actually go to court in the end. I think we settled. I come to agreement, and so I was happy to walk away.
You got to get on with life. What'd you become? What'd you do? First job out of footy.
Out of footy, mate. I was going to be a floor and wall tiler, you know.
A what?
After floor and wall tiler, I was going to go back and do another apprenticeship. I'd already done an apprenticeship.
Down there on your hands and knees every day.
That was probably one of my smartest ones. So I was doing it for about 4 or 5 months, and I was with Johnny James's brother, actually.
Yeah, Jughead.
Yeah, Jughead's brother.
Yeah.
Legend. And
how were the leagues?
Yeah, not going good. I was doing it tough. So we sort of canned that, and then I'd met a few blokes, good manly fellas that I'd known through the year, and they had a mate of theirs who was keen to get into it. He already had a hotel. He was keen to get into another one. And I we started searching for a pub.
You were going to buy a pub?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was probably, you know, something that I've spent plenty of time in them. So
yeah, I know, but did you know anything about them?
Not a clue.
Right.
Not what I found out.
So you became a publican.
I became a publican.
Where'd you buy your pub at?
First pub I bought was in Toowoomba. I couldn't have found a harder mark in Australia.
Why so far away from Manly? What?
I had some good friends, Cobar people that had gone up there and been very successful in business themselves, and they probably give me a bit of guidance. I was probably lent to them a little bit towards the enemy career and what I was going to do. And I was a bit all over the shop, you know. I think my ex-wife could probably say that too. She, poor bugger, but anyway, that's how it rolls. And
So what sort of publican were you? Any good at it?
I was okay at it.
Yeah.
I was very sociable.
Right.
But and mate, there's so many facets to it. You know, you're running 3 businesses in one. You know, you've got gaming, you know, like gambling, and then you've got a restaurant, and then you've got a bar, and mate, I had accommodation as well. So there was a lot of stuff to get my head around, and I had a guy there to show me the ropes, but he didn't last too long.
So you're there isolated.
Yeah.
Running the pub.
Yeah. So I sort of I just learnt the rules.
Yeah.
Mate, I learnt pretty quickly. I lost 20-odd thousand in the kitchen the first month.
Really?
So I learnt pretty quick that we had to change some things around, you know.
So what did you change? Did you renovate it, or what do you do?
Well, we did. We shut the pub down, and it was an old, like it's got historical history. It's like, you know, we couldn't change the facade out the outside, but we sort of, inside the pub, we did it all, redid all the ornate ceilings. It was big 10-foot ceilings, and we bring them back, paint them. And Joey, my ex-wife, she had a good eye for all that. You know, she was quite really good in being able to, you know, tile bar faces, all the stuff that was coming modern in those times in the 90s or the early 2000s. And, so it come up Mickey, the pub. So we were the talk of the town for the first 18 months.
People
2 years.
gravitated towards
Yeah,
it?
they did. Like we sort of, when I went there, the pub was, man, I think it was doing $2,000 a week when we bought it.
Right.
I bought the freehold, and I wish it still had. It was like in the middle of Toowoomba.
Yeah.
And so we bought the freehold, and then we did it, but we got it rolling. Like I think in like towards the middle and the end of the journey was, you know, we're doing 50-odd thousand a week in the bar, like bar and food, you know. So it was good for a little pub because it was only, it wasn't huge, you know. It was 4 or 5 of us running the pub, me drinking a fair bit too.
Yeah. So what happened? Did it prosper, or did you sink?
It prospered. I sold it.
Yep.
Made a good quid. Me and my partner, and then I got into one at the Goldie, a bigger place, Mermaid Beach Tavern.
Yeah.
With a couple other fellas.
So you bought that?
Bought that.
Yeah.
And a bloke who's like my mentor now, Greg Hodge. Hodgie advised me not to do it.
Right.
But I thought I knew everything.
Yeah.
And 4 years later, I done me money.
It went bust?
Went broke.
Right. What are some of the reasons why a pub can tank?
Mate, I think we were just overcapped. Like it was GFC hit, and we'd borrowed too much money.
Yeah.
And the other boys who I'd been in the pub with, they'd been in there from the outset, and they didn't want to put any more money in, and I'd put a lot in there.
Yeah.
And I got held the baby, you know. But
So you're not the first bloke to struggle like that. But what's it feel like to do your dough and to hit?
Mate, you just it's. Well, it's not the worst thing, but it's pretty. It was real tough, you know.
Yeah.
Like it was sort of, I don't know. You feel like a failure, you know. And I'd had so much success going through my life till that stage. I probably didn't cope for a long time, you know. I think I got the drink, a fair bit of it, and then I sort of stayed in the pub game, working for Greg and doing other stuff, and then I went for some family in Chinchilla, but I just eventually had to get out of it, you know, because I was drinking plenty.
Did you end up in the mines, working in mines?
I did, mate. I sort of
How
next
do
period
you
of
get
my
into mining.
Well, coming from Cobar,
Yeah.
there's sort of my brothers were all miners, and all done quite well for themselves. I got one brother's a painter though, but so I sort of had a bit of a background there, even though it was different mining. I went and got in the coal mines, and they were all hard rock mining, you know, gold mining.
Right.
So I sort of
Not on your knees.
Well, mate, like I tell you now, it was tough.
Yeah.
I remember coming home sucking my thumb the first night I went to work, saying, "How did I get here?
Yeah.
How's this happen?"
So you needed the job, I suppose, did you?
Mate, I didn't have a cracker.
Yeah.
I think I had $640 in my bank before I went there,
Wow.
and I was waiting to get a job, and I had to pay $600 in child support for, you know, I was paying. That's what I was paying for the kids, which they needed.
Yeah.
I had $40 for 5 days or something like that.
Wow.
I was eating baked beans and doing my best.
How long did you last in the mines?
Oh, I done first stint. I done probably a couple of years, 2 years, 2.5 years, I think, 2 years, and I only left, and I probably should have stayed. Maybe got a permanent job, but I went into oil and gas, and sort of had some good mates that helped me out through that, and I sort of went and worked for a company called Monadelphous and then Downers, and they were doing big infrastructure jobs. So they were sort of working, building mine sites, and building. You know, I was that lucky in the end. I worked on we built a gas plant on an A-class nature reserve in Western Australia, which is crazy for Chevron.
There's a book in you, Nick.
Yeah, and it sort of made. I spent 3.5 years, and it probably got me back on my feet. I earned some real good money, met some great people, and it was just that time of there's a lot of infrastructure in those big projects all over Australia. So when you went to those jobs, you're getting premium money, like big money, it was mad.
Did you ever think about going home to Cobar and starting again there?
Several times. I actually wanted to go home when I first finished football, at 28, and I was lucky enough. A bloke called Peter Payne was going to put me into a pub there, and I would have coached the footy. But Joanne, and it was not it would have been very hard. Like she was, she's a South Coast girl, grown up in the ocean her whole life. It would have been tough to send her out there.
Yeah.
It's sort of 10 hours from Sydney, and it's a real boys' town. I would have had a great time.
Yeah.
It's it's a lot of fun being a bloke at home.
What about your mates you grew up with in Cobar? Have they done well?
Very well.
Right.
All of them successful, some extremely successful. And now, mate, sometimes you think to myself, mate, I probably should have stayed here in the bush and had a great time. And I could have done it easy. I love being home, but it's sort of the kids are, out and about and on the coast and everywhere else. So.
Are they successful because they got into mining or because of their work ethic? Or
I think both.
Yeah.
And I think that bush growing up and they've bought good property all over Australia, a few of them, and they have, mate. I'm stoked for all the boys. They're good lads too.
Yeah, right. So you do your stint in mining. Where do you go after that?
Well, I sort of come home I come home and Gary won't mind me saying, she met a bloke and was moving back to Sydney. So I sort of come home and looked after the kids for the last couple of years of their schooling, and I was lucky enough. Hodgie was in the Kira Beach Hotel.
Right. So this is your mentor, Greg.
Yeah. Yep. And I asked Greg Bandier, who was running the security there.
He's an ex-Rooster, played in the grand finals.
Legend.
Yeah.
Yep. There's a few books written about him too.
Yeah.
But so I asked him for a job. And he was doing the day shift at the pub, and the nights as well. And I just said, mate, if you got a spare spot, and he did. He gave me 30 hours a week, and then Hodgie found me another 10 hours in the bottle shop. So I was getting plenty of work, looking after the kids, locking up every night at the pub. I sort of done that for a couple of years until the kids got old enough, and then the pub shut, and I was so lucky, mate. That's what I mean. I've sort of had a bit of a blessed life.
You're a bit of a bouncer. You bounce from things to things, but you keep surviving.
Yeah. So then I sort of got a job at the hospital. Lendlease were building a new hospital at Kingscliff. I got to start there. And
doing security?
No, I was in the hoist actually. Man, I had a couple of great jobs there. I went there as a labourer, and then I just ended up being a hoist operator, which is just bringing the boys up and down from each floor when they're working. Right. It's pretty. It's a great job. But it was a lot of fun too. I just talked footy to the boys all day.
And today, mate, you run a really successful security business. Tell us a little bit about your business company.
Well, I've been fortunate there, mate. I come back and Greg sort of pushed me to do that while the pub was shut. And I come back into the Kira Beach Hotel, which is probably the main hotel I got. But I've got 7 or 8 other little business. I do a couple of surf clubs and a couple of footy clubs and a couple of bowls clubs.
So you're in charge of appointing the bouncers or the doorman or the security people.
We like to be called doorman.
Doorman. Sorry,
Steve,
Nick. Sorry.
But no, we do, mate. So it's sort of my company, and it's smaller base, but it's good. It's been I got a nice little lifestyle now, mate. Yeah. I'm living in the best spot in the world, except for the northern beaches, but it's all Cobar.
What makes a good security company? When you're pitching to get someone's business to do their pub or club or business, how do you sell yourself as a security company? Is it by referral, references, or?
Mate, I think that helps. I think if people do want to know about it, they need to come and watch us work, the Kira Beach Hotel. We're not standing in the corner thinking we want to kill everyone, like we're going to fight someone or something like that. You know, we're sort of picking up plates, and it's not for everyone.
So you're like a pseudo staff member as well, eh? So whilst you're keeping an eye on everything, you're wiping tables and picking up plates and picking up glasses.
Mate, I've always found it the easiest way to talk to people, you know, and then you get a lay of the room of how people are operating. You know,
who taught you that skill, but
I think Greg, on both Gregs, like Greg Bandier and also Hodgie, but I sort of picked it up too, being in the pubs myself and talking to old publicans when I had pubs.
Because you'd work pubs,
So I think it's sort of, it's an easy way to feel how people are, and you can tell straight away, like, you know, you're sober, walking through the thing, how people are operating.
Yeah. Is there an edict in security where you have to stand in the corner and watch? Or obviously,
mate, I think at some stages of the night you do, especially if you've got that more nightclubby business, you know. But we've sort of got more of a good dining, good pub, arvo pub sort of feel. It's not that way. We do get to the stages late at the night in some of the venues, but yeah, I've always found it, you know, having a tea towel in your hand and walking around, it makes people at ease too. Yeah. Like people don't all of a sudden think you're a negative vibe, you know.
Yeah, right.
That you're staring at them and they're thinking they're going to be asked to leave in 10 minutes.
Have you got plans to grow your business? And tell us what the business is called.
Mate, it's a real original. It's NK Security.
NK is in Nik Kosef.
Yeah.
How'd you come up with that?
Yeah, I don't know. It took a while.
Yeah.
About 10 minutes, I think.
Yeah.
But
you actually employ a couple of former NRL stars who you've played with and grown up with. Tell us about a couple of the guys who work.
Mate, I'm so fortunate, and it sort of just fell into place. You know, I've got Aaron Kennings. He's originally grew up with me at home. He's a fair few young, like 7 or 8 years younger than me. Right. Played a lot of backyard footy.
He
with
played
him.
at Manly, played at Parramatta.
Played at Manly with me my last year's first year. Yeah. Played at Para.
Yeah.
And then he come.
Fella.
Yeah, great player, mate. Great bloke. Yeah. And I sort of was lucky enough to find him.
You wouldn't want to fight him either, would you?
No, he'd eat you.
Yeah.
But he's a champion. He's got a good personality. He's made for what we do.
Yeah.
Like he'll end up running everything for me later in the track, I hope. Right. So and Brent Kite, he knows.
Brent Kite.
Yeah, he doesn't need any introduction.
Former Clive Churchill medal winner.
Yes.
Premiership winner.
Yep.
Played at Canberra Saints Manly.
Penrith,
yeah.
314 games.
Very good footballer, yeah.
Great player. And mate, as an equally as good bloke.
So do people, when they go to the pub, recognise you guys as former NRL stars?
Well, certainly probably not me, but the other pair of boys that were there, they're a bit younger.
Yeah.
But especially Brent, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But he handles it so well.
Yeah.
He's forthcoming with his time all the time. He never minds having a photo with someone or doing something. And mate, I think it's been good. Like, there's a lot of rugby league people get to the hotel.
Yeah, I was going to ask
and that's Hodgie's probably background as well.
So how many ex-rugby league players live up there on the Gold Coast and frequent that Kira Beach Hotel?
Man, there'd have to be that frequent the pub. I reckon there'd be 20 or 30.
Yeah.
Like blokes like Neil Pringle.
Yeah. Larry Cora.
Yep.
Greg Bandiera.
Yeah.
Yourself, the boys. Then there's Greg Cox. And
Danny Sharp.
Yep.
There'd be easy 24.
Johnny Cosell's up there, I think.
Yep.
Dave Lamming.
Yep.
Well, there's truckloads. I'd hate to forget anyone, but there is
truckloads.
And then Craig Field's up there, and Tony Rampling's up there. And
we might have felt Neatness as well. We might have forgotten him
Peter
too.
Grounds.
Yeah.
Truckloads.
There's truckloads. And there's always people visiting from Sydney. And, a few of your comrades, a few an old journos pop in from time to time.
Yeah. So it's a pretty sort of special little haven, isn't it?
It is, mate. And I'm fortunate, because that's what I mean. Like, I'd say that there's been patches. I think everyone has ups and downs, but, I've definitely had the better end of it.
Yeah. So, mate, just looking back on your journey, and we've covered a lot of ground today. Did you ever think when you're chasing rabbits in Cobar as a kid with your pellet gun or whatever it was that life would take you on such a roller coaster and roundabout sort of ride? Because you've done it all, my friend.
Mate, when you sit back, I've been fortunate, mate. I had such a great time, but it feels like it was yesterday. Trons, like I'd love to do it all again, but I'm still having plenty of fun, mate. But
you still follow the footy?
Yeah, I sort of probably after finishing didn't follow it for a while.
Yeah.
You know, probably been a few years. I without knowing, I probably had a bit of depression, not really knowing. You know, those first few years when I finished. But mate, follow it heavy now. Love it.
You got any idea when this knee's going to be done? The first one?
My oldest daughter's getting married in April in Thailand next year. So after that, so it'll be middle of
next year sometime.
Yeah.
And probably you've had it looked at? The doctors say, Nick, this has got to be done? Or?
No, because I know Nathan will say you've got to hold on.
This is Nathan Gibbs?
Yeah,
right.
Which he's still my man.
Because the longer you hang on, the easier the...
I think so. I think, and then because they only give a certain time for your knee to last, you know. But, mate, they're getting better and better every time, you know, new improvements. And I've had plenty of blokes telling me they've gone past 15 years. They don't guarantee it, but they say you've got 15 years of lifespan before you'll need a new one. But I think they're even better now. And over the last 2 or 3 years, I've had a lot of my mates, like Adam Muir went and got both his done. Sean Timmins just recently had his 2 knees done. So I'm getting on board.
So what's rugby league given you?
Everything.
Good times.
Good times. Yeah, mate, a lot, mate. I'm so blessed to play, you know.
Yeah.
And being lucky enough to play at that level, and you know, I've got some great mates out of it, like special people.
You know, there's more money in soccer.
I couldn't play.
You're no good?
No. I was the worst striker in the world.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. I think I would have probably ended up as a goalie, but I had nothing.
You'd have been a good goalie.
I used to drop a few times.
Did Dad make you practice in the yard?
All the time. So we'd always, we'd be playing rugby league until he got home, and then the soccer goals would come out, and the footy would be gone, you know.
Yeah.
Then half the boys would leave, actually.
Yeah, I'm sure Dad was very proud of you, mate, what you did.
No, I think, mate, we didn't get a long time together, but what we had was beautiful.
Fascinating story, mate. So grateful that you shared it with us today. I really enjoyed chatting to the great Nik Kosef. Thanks for chiming in.
Thanks, Stephen. Appreciate it.